Did you receive a letter giving you notice of a Medicaid Recovery Act lien? You would have gotten a letter from HMS, that's Health Management Systems. This is part of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. Now, the reason you may be getting that letter is because you had a family member recently pass away, and that family member was receiving Medicaid. So this letter basically lets you know that there is a lien on the property and there are certain statutory exceptions. So if you fall under one of these exemptions, you're not going to have this lien apply. So let's first, before we get into the exemptions, let's talk about what this lien is. This lien is basically for all the payments that the state of Texas made towards this person's Medicaid expenses, those medical bills that were paid for by the state of Texas. They're wanting to get their money back. And so through probate, through a lien on the property, that's where they're going to collect that money. So this is notifying you that, hey, there's going to be a lien placed on your parents' property. There are some exceptions to that. Now, it's not a blanket, so it doesn't cover everything, but first exemption is if you are the surviving spouse. So if you're the surviving spouse, then you need to notify them that you're exempt and that you're the surviving spouse. You need to provide some documentation to show that, and that lien does not attach to the property. Second is if there is a child who is blind or disabled, or any child under 21, or any child any age who is blind or disabled. So that is the second exemption. So if that exists, then you need to submit the form with the requested evidence to prove that you have that exemption. The next statutory exemption is that if there was an adult single child who lived in the residence for at least a year prior to the death of the person receiving the benefits, that is another exemption. Now, there's a fourth exemption that is not applicable to as many people, it's a little more rare, but if you are American Indian, Alaska Native, or otherwise received government reparations payments, then you may be able to have some kind of exemption there. Those are the four statutory exemptions that exist. If you don't fall under any of those, you're not completely out of luck, but it's not going to be a guaranteed statutory ruling. You're going to need to file a hardship waiver. Now, this has to happen within 60 days. There needs to be a good reason why it would create a hardship for the family if this lien attaches to the property. So this is one of those things that unfortunately can come up at the most inopportune time, right after you have a loved one pass away. What you really want to try to do is be proactive. Once we're down the line, it's very difficult, and relying just on getting a hardship waiver is going to be something that is not going to be 100%, and you may or may not get it. So it's hard to just say, hey, if I just do this, it'll be resolved. Ideally, a simple way to get ahead of this is if your family is receiving Medicaid or is getting ready to get qualified for Medicaid, you want to make sure that they have put their property into a ladybird deed. Now, that ladybird deed transfers title to whoever they want as the beneficiary. It could be one person, could be multiple, but they would reserve a life estate, and it's revocable, so it doesn't run afoul of any of the exemptions. But what it does is it takes it out of this probate recovery process. So that's something you want to be proactive about. If you haven't been able to do that, you want to go ahead and try to put together a hardship application requesting basically for them to give you a break. I don't really handle those hardship applications. I think that the psychology is if you can afford an attorney to help you do this, then you should have done something about it before, and we don't think you should get that. That's my opinion. I don't have any evidence to base it on, but I think a personal letter on the hardship application would be the way to go if none of those exemptions apply. Now, if you want to make sure that you are not going to leave this situation for your family, and you're in a situation where you would qualify for Medicaid and so maybe don't have too many assets that you have to deal with, you want to make sure that you have a ladybird deed in place. And if you have more assets, you may want to consider creating a trust so that your family can receive your assets in a way that is going to be more efficient. Anyway, hope that answers your questions, and I look forward to being able to serve you and your family. Thank you.